الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته ومنتهى علمه وجميع ما شاء وخلق وبرع علم الغيب وشهادة الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون أما بعد فيقول الله تعالى في كتابه في سورة البقرة يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين صدق الله العظيم. Alhamdulillah, after praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending peace and blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we began with the verse wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who believe, enter into Islam completely and do not follow the footsteps of the shaitan, the devil, because he is to you an open, clear, and present enemy. This is Surah Al-Baqarah, the second chapter of the Quran, verse number 208. This verse we mentioned from this minbar many times. The reason that this ayat was revealed is because some Muslims, namely the Sahaba known as Abdullah ibn Salam, who used to be a Jewish scholar, and then he embraced Islam, and he sacrificed a lot to become Muslim. All of his people turned against him when they all used to love him. He held, and those who followed him, because he didn't just come into Islam by himself, he had influence over some of his people, and so a few people came into Islam with him. And as we said, they used to be Jewish. And if you know anything about the Jewish religion, they hold sacred the Sabbath, Yom Sabbath, the seventh day. Like we hold sacred Yom Jamaa'ah, this day, the day of gathering. And the Christians hold the day Yom Ahad, Sunday, the first day. They hold that as being sacred. The Jews hold Yom Sabbath, called the Sabbath. They hold that day to be sacred. And so they wouldn't do any business or anything other than worship during that day. The day was a special day for them. And those who are observant Jews today, they still do the same thing. Abdullah ibn Salam, when he became Muslim, he didn't see a contradiction between that practice, holding the Sabbath sacred, and Islam. Because logically, it's not a contradiction. In fact, even in the Quran, as we mentioned so many times, Allah speaks in the Quran about a group of Jews that lived by the sea, known as the Sabbath breakers. They would sneak and break the Sabbath by fishing. They would put their fish hooks and nets in the water the day before the Sabbath, and then act like they ignored it on Saturday, and then Sunday come and get the fish that was caught on Saturday. And so they thought they were, playing a trick on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by doing that. Allah speaks about them in the Quran. So if you use regular conventional logic, you see nothing wrong, nothing contradictory about adhering to the Sabbath and still being Muslim. But that line of thinking is wrong. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this verse. O you who believe, udkhulu fi silmi kafa. O you who believe, when you come into Islam, come all the way. Don't bring your baggage with you. Come all of the way. All of the way. Now, we said this verse was revealed about Abdullah ibn Salam. And if you pick up any book of Sirah, any book of Hadith, you can't find anything wrong or negative about him. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins the verse, O you who believe. So he's considered amongst the believers. It's not like Allah is talking about a bad Muslim. He's a good Muslim. But still coming to Islam all of the way. So if Abdullah ibn Salam is not above criticism for bringing practices into Islam that logically don't contradict Islam, what about us? Some of us bring practices into Islam, we still practice it, and it contradicts Islam. They don't even fit logically. So if that's the case about him, what about us? Udkhulu fi silmi kafa. Completely, all of the way. Or as how Yusuf Ali translates it in his translation of the Quran, wholeheartedly. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. And do not follow the footsteps of shaitan. Allah says literally footsteps, kutuwa. Do not follow the footsteps of shaitan. Allah could have easily said, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا shaitan. Do not follow the shaitan. Allah could have easily said that. Don't follow the devil. But he said, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. Do not follow the footsteps of the devil. That teaches us that the devil, the shaitan, he doesn't come with a big bright t-shirt on, say, I'm the devil, fire, brimstone, pitchfork, looking all ugly and gruesome, and say, hey, I'm going to hell. Want to come? He don't come like that. He leads you step by step. He gets you to go little by little. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. He is to mankind, he is to you an open enemy. The shaitan. The same one who wants you to bring jahili, un-Islamic practices with you into Islam. He's going to make these things fair seeming. He's going to make it logical. He's going to make it fit. He's going to make it feel right to you. This is why seeking knowledge is important. Seeking knowledge is not only for the one who wants to become a scholar. Seeking knowledge is for the everyday Muslim. Because you have what is called Fardul Ain. That which is individually obligatory upon every Muslim. Once you reach the age of Mukallaf, once you reach the age of puberty, when you become an adult, not when you become 16 or 18 or whatever state or country you live in determines that you become an adult. No, when you become an adult, in the eyesight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are mukallaf and you are responsible. This is when the angels appear, Raqib and Atid, and they appear and they begin to record your good and bad deeds. And these things that they're writing, these things make up your book of deeds, your scroll that is given to you on the day of judgment. When it is handed to us, either in our right hand or our left hand behind our backs. That book of deeds is what our angels been writing about us since we became mukallaf, since we reached the age of puberty. That is when you become an adult. That is when it becomes obligatory for all of us to learn at least those things which are obligatory for us to do. If you're a Muslim and you're praying, you have to have knowledge about salah. If you're a Muslim and you paying zakat, you have to at least know what it takes to pay zakat. You have to have knowledge about that. If you're a Muslim and you're fasting, you have to at least know about the fast of Ramadan. What breaks your fast? What invalidates you? What weakens you? What undermines your fast? When to fast? I just received an email today. They saying that Ramadan's going to start on such and such day and the Eid's going to start on such and such day and the month of Rajab ain't even over yet. How you know? Because somebody's calculated. And we deal with that every year. That's a horse we're going to beat next month. if you're going to make Hajj. And you have to make Hajj. If you have the ability to make Hajj, as the Prophet ﷺ said, you have to know about making Hajj. You have to seek knowledge about it. You have to take classes. You have to study it. So you don't make that journey and invalidate your Hajj. Especially nowadays, you pay close to $10,000 for it. If you're getting married, you have to seek knowledge about getting married. You have to know what makes a marriage valid. What invalidates the marriage? What are grounds for divorce? You may say, well, I don't never want to get divorced. So what? You have to seek knowledge of getting divorced, even if you're married. Because if and when you get divorced, you want to make sure you're divorced. You don't want to still be married, marrying other people. Anything that is obligatory for you to do or that you're doing, you have to seek knowledge of that. Knowledge precedes action. You can't follow the footsteps of Shaitan. If you can't follow the adab of Juma, you're not coming anymore. Be quiet. Knowledge precedes action. Do not follow the footsteps of Shaitan. Shaitan will play on your ignorance. When you're ignorant of something, you do what you know how to do best. If you come up in the Jahiliyyah, in the days of ignorance, and you don't have Islamic knowledge in that area, when that situation comes, you're going to do what you know how to do best. What you were doing before Islam. Which could land you and I in deep trouble. It could land you and I in deep trouble. One of the things that the people have been afflicted with here, in this country and many other countries, not specific to here, but we live here, so I'm talking about here, is that it has become the norm and acceptable to break family ties. And there are a lot of things in place. There are a lot of things that are in place, systemic, is embedded in the system to ensure that your family breaks up. It's there. The monetary system is one of them. Not too many people can survive on one income. Therefore, it takes both parents to go outside and work, and the children to be taken care of by Allah knows who. That's a systemic problem. It's designed that way. It's not an accident. These things are documented. Even public school education is designed to break your family up. If you go back to the earliest forms of public education in this country, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, they stated clearly that the purpose of this public school is to break the bond between the child and the parent and replace the parent with that of the state. It's clear. They want to break the family ties. Because this country is a corporation. If you understand what a corporation is and what it looks like, this country is a corporation. If you look at the structure, it's a corporation. This is a capitalist society. When you deal with a capitalist society, you deal with everything is monetized. And when you do business with somebody, somebody wins and somebody loses in a capitalist society. People don't walk away where I buy something from you and you sell it to me and we're both happy. No, that's not the objective of a capitalist system. A capitalist system is for me to make the money and for me to trick you out of your money and trick you into slavery. In fact, if you could give me your money without me giving you anything, that's even better. This was what propelled this country past all other countries. This is what made this country strong. Slavery, the slave trade. Just imagine you as one individual So let's say you're not even a business owner, you're not even an entrepreneur, you work for somebody else. Just imagine if it was permissible for you to force somebody else to do your job at work, but you still get the check. Just think about it. You're one person. Now think about a whole country based on that, and there's 22 million people working free labor at any given time during that time period. This is why this country went from being a new country in 1776, slave trade started in the late 1500s, and by the time the 19th century come around, the 20th century, Great Britain ain't great no more. This country took over. How you do it that fast? Any of you that's inclined to history, you know nations don't rise that fast. It takes hundreds and thousands of years. This country did a few hundred years. Because you had a whole population of people working for free. So embedded in that society, in this society, is the breaking up of the families. To turn husband against wife, to turn parent against child, turn child against parent. It's there. It's in the slave system. And that's why it amazes me when Muslims get together and they talk about protests and all that, and they want to appeal to the logic. They want to appeal to the humanity. Wait a minute. You want to appeal to the humanity of these people? You don't know what these people did? And they ain't apologizing for it. Yeah, you can't even get an apology out of them. And they ain't even the ones who did it. Their great-great-grandfathers did it. They still want to apologize for it. You know, I got a book called Medical Apartheid. Medical apartheid. You know what apartheid is, South Africa, whatever. They had apartheid right here, just didn't call it apartheid. But a lot of advancements, quote unquote, in medicine that we take for granted was done based upon so-called experimentation on our forefathers. And we're not only talking about the Tuskegee experiment, where they just gave people syphilis and they said, oh, chill, let's see what's going to happen. Just watch. Give them a disease, just watch. Yeah, we got medicine for it, but chill, don't give it to them. Just watch. That's just one thing. This was the norm. They did a whole bunch of stuff. And these things have been documented and put into a book this thick of what they've been doing. To black people in particular. One of the things that they used to do is, because everything is monetized, a human being is worth something, it's property. So they're trying to get more labor, more work out of it. You could have a husband and wife on a slave plantation, the wife give birth to a baby, well, you get some good money. They selling that slave, don't care nothing about you and your family. You're an animal. Like some of us breed dogs and cats and stuff. They're animals. You know, well, that's the mother. Maybe we should keep it together. I don't care about all that. Try to make money. I got these pit bulls. I'm selling them. That's what they used to do to us. Don't care nothing about family, and you want to appeal to the humanity? Well, please. So you have to understand that in this system, keeping your family together is not a priority, it's not an obligation, it's not something that they're thinking about, it's not even something they care for. In fact, it's the opposite. And you have to keep that in mind. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ورضي الله تعالى عن سادة التابعين وعلماء العاملين وأئمة الأربعة المجتهدين ومقلدين إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Muhammad, ayah 47, verses 22 and 23. Allah says, فَهَلْ أَسَيْتُمْ إِن تَوَلَّيْتُمْ إِن تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَتُكَتِّئُوا أَرْحَامَكُمْ. Allah says, if you were given authority in the earth, would you make mischief and break family ties? Think about everything we just said. If you were given authority, would you make mischief in the earth and break up families and break family ties? أولئك الذين لعنهم الله فأصمهم وأعمى أبصارهم. Such are people whom Allah has cursed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that those who break family ties, the la'an of Allah is on them. They are cursed. That means the absence of Allah's rahmah is there. Allah's mercy is not there. When somebody is cursed, that means Allah removes the mercy from that person. You know when you say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, do you know what Ar-Rahman means? Ar-Rahman is the mercy that Allah gives to everybody. Muslim, non-Muslim, atheist, everybody. Everybody experiences that mercy. Ar-Rahman. Ar-Rahim is that mercy which is only for the believers. It's only for the Muslims. Do you know that when somebody has a la'an, the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on them, that Allah even starts to remove that mercy? Something that we take for granted when we eat Bismillah, when we make salat, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, when we recite Bismillah, it comes ritual. That mercy, that Allah even feeds and gives air to people who curse Him and don't believe in Him. Even devil worshippers, they still walking around. That's part of Allah's mercy. Do you know one of the Sahaba, Abu Hurairah, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he's a Sahaba who memorized the most hadith. And the amazing thing, amongst the Sahaba, he's not considered a scholar. I'm talking about amongst the Sahaba. He's not a scholar. It's the same way like when you go to the doctor's a scholar. He gives you the prescription. You have to go to the pharmacist to get it. Abu Hurairah is like the pharmacist. He has the medicine. But he's not really qualified to tell you how much to take, when to take it, the dosage. He just gets the script and he puts it together for you. That's like Abu Hurairah. He memorized over 5,600 hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every other Sahaba, including Aisha, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Abbas, all of their hadiths number in the 2000s. He almost doubles all of them. And he was only Muslim for less than 3 years during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was only Muslim for less than 3 years he spent with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But that's just it. He spent all of his time with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua that Allah gave him strong memory, and he did. One time, Abu Hurairah, he went someplace to narrate hadith, and he heard something there he refused to teach. And everybody's like, whoa. And in fact, he kicked somebody out of his class. And when he was asked why, he said, Inni sami'tu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam yaqul, Inna rahmata la tanzilu ala qawmin fihim qati'ur rahm. He said, verily, I heard the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, Allah's mercy does not descend upon a group of people, and there is amongst them someone who breaks family ties. I mean, this is extremely deep. Now look at the society that we grow up in and take for granted. You know, in Islam, Islam is a religion revealed by Allah, the God we all claim to worship, right? If you have the same mother or the same father, your brothers, your sisters, your siblings. Nowhere in the book in the Sunnah do you see half-brother, step-brother. It's not there. But we grow up and we take these things for granted. Well, that's your brother? No, that's my half-brother. You know, we got the same mother, different father. It's so already growing up, planted in your head that this brother ain't as much my brother as this brother is. Because we only got one parent alike, but we got two parents alike. That's from the shaitan. You don't have no distinction and no decrease in stature between anybody in Islam when you have one parent. You got one parent alike your brothers or sisters. I don't care if you grew up on the moon or you grew up on Jupiter. You got the same parent, your brothers, your sisters, your siblings. But because we grow up here and these things are taken for granted and we don't seek knowledge, and even if some of us we do seek knowledge, we carry it on anyway. You know, some of us know better and we don't do better. You know, one of the mujaddids, one of the revivers of this deen, Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, one of the things that's known about him, he said, every problem, every sickness, meaning social or spiritual, every sin that a person does, is based upon a sickness. And this sickness is ignorance. And the way you cure ignorance is that you treat it with knowledge. And that's the way he dealt with people. If people were sinful, he said, okay, that sin is a result of a sickness. That sickness is ignorance. The way you deal with ignorance is that you teach that person. As we say in English, you know better, you do better. But you also have other sicknesses. You got sicknesses called nifaq, hypocrisy. When somebody has traits of hypocrisy or kibr, arrogance, they'll know better and still won't do better. They'll know better and still won't do better. There are people who can quote everything I just mentioned, backwards and forwards, tell you when it was revealed, recite it with better Arabic than I did, tell you what was going on when it happened, and still turn around after they do it and still do the same thing. Muslims used to be that group of people that non-Muslims used to come to for safety. If you've been Muslim for anything more than 20 years, you can bear witness to this. People used to come to the Muslims for refuge, even if they didn't want to become Muslim themselves. When they used to see the Muslims, it used to be like, okay, you see the family together. Muslims used to be known, be brother, sister, whole gang of kids, family together. That's what be known for. What are the Muslims known for now? In 2015. Think about it. If your memory goes back that far, and you can remember the 90s, the 80s, if you can remember that, and you grew up around Muslims, the first thing that came to your mind was a family. And they in the same hood you are. Maybe drugs tore up your home. Maybe drugs tore up that Muslim brother and their sister's home. But they came to Islam, and Islam brought their families together. Even if it was what they call blended families. You know, you got a husband, wife, he got kids, she got kids, different fathers, different mothers, they come together, family. Cohesion. Not that it was never an argument, it was never a fight, it was never a fitna, but it worked. Now, we follow the footsteps of Shaitan. We do the same thing, or even worse than the disbelievers do now. You get married, you better not get divorced, and you better not have no children. Why? Because Shaitan is going to come. And Shaitan is going to inspire one of them to turn somebody against somebody. Do you know how many households are being torn up? Do you know how many ex-wives is turning children against fathers and brothers and sisters? Do you know how common this is? This is going on all across the country. And there are people to sit and listen. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, After Cooper. Yeah, alhamdulillah, good Cooper. You know your mama ain't no good, right? No, they ain't really your brothers. Your real brothers over here. And everybody Muslim. And it's deep. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he spoke about a group of people. He was talking about the Khawarij. But he said about them, he said, Inna ba'ti min ummati qawmun yaqra'una al-Qur'ana la yujawizu halaqi ma'hum. That there will be after me a group of people. Yaqra'una al-Qur'an. They will recite the Qur'an. Wa la yujawizu. It will not go past their throats. They will recite the Qur'an. They'll know it. They can recite it. But it will not reach their hearts. It won't penetrate their hearts. It'll just be something that they say. But they won't do it. Why? Fi qulubihim maradun. Because in their hearts is a disease. They know exactly what Allah says. You ask them what the punishment is for breaking up family ties, or the curse of Allah is on you. You don't think what you do is breaking up family ties? But you don't know what I've been through. This is our situation. And I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that nobody in this masjid is guilty of this. I pray that nobody in this community is guilty of it. And if anybody is, I pray that you stop now. Because you're really only hurting yourself. How do I know this? Because we got a whole bunch of history behind us. Just people in general, not even Muslims. Speak to anybody that's a grown man or a grown woman and that's been kept from their mother or father unjustly. I'm not talking about a father who was locked up for 20 years and on the other side of the country. I'm talking about a father who was right there. Mother didn't tell the child who the father was, acting like she don't know, or that he was the boogeyman, or he was the devil. That child grows up, eventually he's going to find out the truth, or at least part of it. And you know what? That child usually develops an extreme hatred for the parent who kept him away from the other parent. And you would think with all of this Quran and Sunnah floating around, that the Muslims will be exempt from this. No, we fall right into it with everybody else. And again, as I say every week, that's part of the dangers when you live amongst a group of people. You don't create your own communities. You know, Sheikh Uthman Den Fodio, may Allah have mercy on him. You know, he established Islam in the country that, you know, the area called Hausa, and modern day Nigeria, Niger, Chad. You know, he made a prediction. He said that after 100 years, you know, this thing's going to be over. He said that in 1803. He said after 100 years, in other words, this Jamaa'ah that he established, Islam reestablished here, everybody's living according to the Quran and the Sunnah, it's all good, it's all beautiful. He said 100 years, Allah unveiled for him. That's one of the karamah of the awliya. That's one of the miracles of the protected friends of Allah. Sometimes he allows them to see things that, you know, hey, how could he have possibly known that? Do you know what? Exactly in 1903, the British invaded Nigeria. 100 years after he said that, exactly. And when that happened, all of the scholars alive during that time, they were wondering, what should we do? How do we get so weak to allow this to happen? And one of the scholars, Qadi Modibo Abdul, he wrote a fatwa explaining what they should do. Now, okay, this is what happened, this is how we got here, what should we do now? And he said basically that the relationship between us and these disbelievers who are invading us is one of three. In other words, you only have three options. You can fine tune it, you can brush it up, you can dress it up. It boils down to three things. Either we're going to fight them, or we're going to make a treaty or a truce with them, or we're going to make hijrah. We're going to flee from them. And he gave his opinion. But when he started talking about the option of a truce or a treaty with them, one of the things that he said is amazing. He said that because we are so weak, if we make a treaty with them, there's nothing to compel them to respect the treaty. There's nothing to compel them to respect the terms of the agreement. And we so weak because we sinful. He said, and if we allow ourselves to live under the authority of the European kuffar, he said, our women and our children will fall in love with their way of life and their customs and their dress, and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ will die out, and pitch black innovation will emerge. That's what he said in 1903 about the British invasion. We're over 100 years after that, and we were brought up and raised under what he was talking about. They were just coming to them. They had an option. We were brought up and raised in it. So you have to have in your mind that you can't deal with this thing just like defensively. You have to be offensive. You have to be offensive. You're already in the negative. Your fitrah has already been tampered with from birth. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Kulu mawludin yuladu ala fitra, fa'abawahu yuhawidanihi, aw yunasiranihi, aw yumajisanihi." Every child is born according to the natural disposition of fitrah. It is the parent who makes the child a Jew, Christian, or fire worshiper. The system has corrupted that. And so we have to fight against that, inshallah. And that's why sometimes we have to be, sometimes you have to have, when you have a force, if I come and stand to you and I push you and I try to knock you over, you're standing up straight. It's not enough for you to resist with equal pressure that I'm using. Because I'm still pushing, we be standing there all day, and eventually one of us is going to get tired. In order to get me off of you, you have to push back harder than I'm pushing you. If you can understand that, you can understand what we're dealing with. When we're surrounded by all of these un-Islamic evils, and we're sincerely trying to establish Islam, we have to practice Islam to the outsider, or to the hypocrite. It looks like we're being extreme. Like, why are you being so over the top? You mean it's haram to wear a t-shirt? You can't wear a button-up shirt? Nobody said that. But that's not the point. When I wear a thobe, personally, I like baggy stuff anyway. When I wear a thobe, it's not that I'm just wearing it because I think it's Islamic and it's a sunnah. I'm trying to make it easy for whoever's going to come in my space after me. Maybe when the kuffar see me and give me the funny looks and suck their teeth and start blowing out air like they're a tractor trailer or something, maybe by the time you come, they'll be used to it. Maybe by the time my children comes, they won't have to feel that pressure. I done dealt with the pressure already. So these things we have to have in mind, and you have to understand, Shaitan wants your child. There was only a few children that Shaitan didn't touch when they was born. Jesus and his mother. Every other child, they cried. Why did the Prophet ﷺ say they cried? Because Shaitan pricked them. Shaitan wants your children. He's not worried about you too much. He wants your children. Why do you think when you get with your wife, the dua that you make, the supplication that you make, is that you asking Allah to protect what may occur from Shaitan? The conscious Muslim knows that Shaitan is like, okay, how can I get in? How can I get in? Oh, they about to get in. Oh, they about to get their group on. He made the dua. The baby's born. Shaitan is there. He want to get in. You got to block him. You have to be conscious about this. Or you pay later. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen.
Imam Naeem Abdullah of Masjid Al-Mu'min and Nur Zaman Institute is available for speaking engagements. You can contact Imam Naeem Abdullah at the following: via telephone at 267-388-0823, or write him at 537 Paulson Avenue, Pittsburgh, PA 15206, or via email at imamnaeem@nurzamaninstitute.org.
Bismillah.